never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason to breathe this air.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody. Today I want to do a video about something I have not done in quite a while, and that is a Fed Up Friday. And if you missed it the first time around, which has probably been, I don't know, close to a year ago by now, it's basically, as you can tell by the title, Fed Up Friday, just things that get under my skin or make my skin crawl or irritate me, ever how you want to put it. If you have anything that you're fed up with, just feel free to let me know in the comments section while you're there. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up and share the video on all social media platforms. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, last time I did a Fed Up Friday, I guess I had 7 or 8 different topics. Today I only have 4 or 5 because I'm going to talk a little bit about the ones that I have. I'm not just going to bring them up and move on. There's a couple that I'm just going to basically bring up and move on. There's a couple that I want to actually spend some time on. These could be sports related, and they could not be sports related. So if you're not a sports fan, don't worry. This video is not going to be completely about sports. But the first thing that I'm fed up with is a two-parter, because it's 2 different things that I'm fed up with, but it's on the same topic, and that is things that don't make sense. For example, how can a funeral home raise their prices and blame it on the cost of living? Now, if anybody can tell me how that makes sense, I'd love to hear it. Now, I know all about prices going up daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, but you can't blame the cost of living on somebody that's no longer living. That seems kind of oxymoronic to me. It's kind of like people go to a restaurant now and they get, whatever their favorite item is on the menu, and it'll be smaller than it was the last time they went, and they say it's inflation. But inflation is making things bigger, but our food got smaller. So wouldn't that be deflation, not inflation? So explain to me how a funeral home can raise their prices and blame it on cost of living. Does not make sense. And another thing that I'm fed up with that does not make sense is, speaking of restaurants, why is it that you get charged extra for adding food, but you don't save money by taking away food? To me, it seems like if they're going to charge you extra for adding a piece of cheese or adding a piece of bacon, that if you go there and you tell them, oh, just give me one patty, or I'll take out the lettuce, they should make the food cheaper. If they're going to charge you more for adding more food, they should charge you less for having less food. But if you go to a restaurant and you order something and you say, oh, take this away, it's going to cost you the same thing. But if you go to a restaurant and you tell them, oh, well, just add a piece of cheese on there, they're going to charge you about $1 extra. And another thing that I'm fed up with is I'm fed up with expecting people to act normal and get treated differently. And what I mean by that is it used to be that when you go out in public, you're expected, if you're above the age of, 10 or 11 years old, maybe 9 years old if you're really smart, but you're expected to be good. You were raised in a home, you're old enough now to where you know right from wrong, and you know how to act in public. You don't need people to tell you, congratulations, thank you, you were good. You're old enough to where you should know to be good. It's kind of like what I was saying the other day about it irritates me when people talking about football say they want a coach that gets the team motivated. Well, if you're an 18 plus grown man playing football, you know what your job is. If you need the coach to tell you to go out there and do your job, you shouldn't play because you're old enough to know what your job is. If you're 10, 11 years old, you're old enough to know how to act right. But we've got to the point in America to where we're supposed to just be absolutely okay with people just being complete idiots. And we're supposed to dumb ourselves down to their level. And then when all of a sudden somebody actually acts normal, we want to say, boy, look how good they're doing. When they don't need congratulations for that. They should know to act that way. It should be the way they're raised and the way they're taught. But it seems like we are dumbing ourselves down to their level and making it seem like they're normal for acting the way they are. And then when they're actually really good, we think they've done something special. When no, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm just overall fed up with the wussification of America. Now, I don't really have a lot of, examples. I could sit here all day long and, give examples. But I'm just talking about in general. I'm fed up with the wussification of America. And I will say one thing on that. It reminds me of this past Tuesday, just a couple of days ago. The kids were out of school, at least in my neck of the woods. Every school around here canceled school on Tuesday, and all it did was rain. That's it. When we're canceling school for rain, we've got a problem. If you're over the age of 35, you probably remember when we were in school, even elementary school, if we were in school with the tornado warning, they sent us outside in the hallway, sit on our butts against a cement or a concrete or brick wall, depending on what school you went to, your knees up in the air with the book over your head and your head down in case there was a tornado. So we went to school even with a tornado warning or a tornado watch. And knowing that a tornado might happen, we were still there. And now they get out of school for rain. That's just one quick example of the wussification of America. But like I said, I could go on all day long talking about that. And everybody watching this video knows what I'm talking about. You've got a quick example of just something that you heard or saw or read, and your first thought was, man, we got a problem. We've got problems when that is normal. And I'm fed up with people wanting to change an argument based on their narrative. And if you're a sports fan, you've heard me multiple times here on the channel talk about how I no longer watch ESPN because they try to brainwash you and they say stuff that only fits their narrative. And it might be 100% completely false, but they'll tell you that hoping that you believe it because they're trying to feed you a certain player or a certain team or a certain conference or a certain sport, depending on what their topic is. And people actually take what they say to heart and believe it. But if you actually follow it, a lot of times they're full of malarkey. But Paul Feinbaum is notorious for doing it. He will change his feeling based on whatever his narrative is. And he'll say something one day, and then the very next day he'll say something completely opposite just to try to get his point across. And if you watch him daily, you're thinking, Paul, you didn't say that yesterday. But he's trying to get his narrative across. And Michigan winning the national championship in college football this past Monday is another example. And I mentioned here on the channel before, talking about Penn State, how, they got put on probation years ago, but it didn't last no time because, all the fans and everybody come out and said, well, it's not right because you're punishing the kids. So their long probation ended up lasting, a couple of years. Well, now Michigan wins a national championship. And when it comes to the name, image, and likeness, the fans that have wanted these players to get paid for a long time, when they talk about the whole NIL stuff, they'll come out and say, well, they're grown men playing a dangerous sport. They should get paid. But then if you ask them about what Michigan supposedly did back during the regular season, they'll say, well, we don't want to punish them because we're punishing the kids. So wait a minute. When your narrative is you want to pay the players, they're men. But when your narrative is you want Michigan to not get in trouble, they're kids. Which one are they? Are they kids or are they grown men? They can't be kids based on your one argument and then they're men based on your other argument. We got to stop changing our narrative based on a certain thing we're trying to brainwash people with. If you feel one way, feel that way constantly. Don't feel that way on this topic, but on this topic, it's the opposite. It's one or the other. Now, I'm not saying Michigan should get in trouble because the guy that was supposedly doing it, they fired in the middle of the season. So I don't see how they were still doing it. So I think it was all over with by the middle of the season. But if you are going to punish Michigan, you've also got to punish Georgia and Alabama because they got multiple recruiting violations while they were winning. And recruiting violations is cheating. So what Michigan did was cheating, but what Bama did was also cheating. And cheating is cheating. There's not layers of cheating. You either are or you're not. So if you're going to punish Michigan, then you've also got to punish all the schools that had recruiting violations. But if the schools that had recruiting violations are okay, then Michigan's okay. We can't be okay with this cheating, but we're not okay with this cheating. So I'm not saying that Michigan should get in trouble. If you think they should, that's fine. But my whole point in this argument is we can't say that these players are grown men when we want them to get paid, but then turn right around and say they're kids when we want them to not get in trouble. They can't be kids in one argument and then turn around the next argument, be men. It's the same age. You're either kids both times or you're grown men both times. We've got to make our mind up. We have a bad habit of wanting to prove our point, so we'll change the way we felt before to prove a point this time around. And you can't do that. And that's why I always say I don't talk sports with a lot of people when I'm having one-on-one conversations, because people just say the stupidest stuff. And if you stop them every time they say something stupid, or every time they're wrong, or every time they're idiotic, they never finish their point. But if you let them finish their point, the longer they talk, the more you feel your IQ just dropping. And that's another example of that, because one or the other, kids or men. You can't be kids when you don't want to get in trouble, but men when you want to get paid. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I hate when my wife gets mad at me for being lazy. It's not like I did anything. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.